Are traditional exercises like deadlifts, barbell presses, bicep curls functional? Well, there certainly is a short answer, and there's a long answer. And because this is an educational channel, I'm going to give you the long answer with 3 examples that will help you distinguish between what is functional and what is not. But before we get started, real quick, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified every time you post new videos about programming, functional training, movement biomechanics, how to address your clients' pains, and other movement and fitness related topics. So as a fellow of applied functional science from the Gray Institute for the past 12 years, I made functional training a focus of my programming and have helped thousands of people and clients move better, feel better, and live a higher quality of movement life. So I want to start with how I define the word functional, because there are a lot of opinions on this topic, but this is how we define functional training. It's really the authentic possibilities of how their daily lives are to be applied. So we want to train someone in the facility so they're better outside of the facility. And we have to understand the principles, the truths of the sciences. So that means if they're going to be functioning on 2 feet, we need to functionally train them on 2 feet. If they're going to be doing a sport that has a one-footed action or is always single-legged, like running, we should probably train them more so single-legged. Example continues to apply as it is. What function is, therefore, we should try to create. Not exactly recreate, but to get close to it so it enhances their possibilities. It's really important that we stop being dogmatic about fitness. This is an evolving technology. We're understanding more and more and more about how the human body plays. And some things are always going to be one way, and some things are going to be a little bit different. But we have to understand what qualifies as functional always depends on what is in front of you. It's a key word. The key word is it depends. So we have to be able to understand what it depends on. Our job, again, as a movement coach, is to guide our clients and athletes to their wants and needs. Though their needs and wants may be contradictory, well, we still need to communicate and guide them to such an outcome to the best of our abilities and the body's physiological possibilities. All right, let's get into some examples. Let's talk about the deadlift. How is this drill right here, is it functional or is it non-functional? Well, that drill right there can be very functional for a CrossFitter getting ready for the games because they actually will do that exact movement pattern several times. Several times. And if they don't practice that and get better at that, when they're in the sport of it, in the competition, in the heat of it, they're not going to fare very, very well. So that is very functional for a CrossFitter getting ready for the games. It's also very functional for any athlete who needs to gain simply muscle mass for the sport that they need to train for. Because maybe it's the game of football. They just need to put on more pounds. Give me an easier way for someone to just put on some good old-fashioned meat on them bones without doing that. So quite a functional drill for that particular athlete. Remember, it depends. But also depends on any athlete that just needs basic fundamental strength training as a foundation before they get somewhere else. Because this drill is a very easy way and quite functional in terms of gaining fundamental strength, especially in the lower body. So how can we take that deadlift and tweak it for our 3 examples? The examples we're going to be talking about is a mom of any sorts or a parent of any sorts, a soccer player, and any person in their 60s who just wants to live a life full of movement. So we talk about a deadlift, right? So let's take a 20-pound fit fighter and call it a baby. And let's think about this baby is in a crib. Now, as a parent, I certainly know that we use deadlifts a lot when that sweet 20 pounds is going to sleep and you need to put them down gently or pick them up gently. And honestly, as I take this sweet little sucker and I go way over a fixed object over top, I'm going to do an amazing straight leg deadlift. And I'm going to feel those hamstrings, those glutes open up. I'm going to feel even the calves, back of the knees open up. And so if I don't have this great ability to get good hinging and even a good thoracic spine flexion to make that big drop, I'm not going to be well trained. So a deadlift in this situation is going to be huge, but it's going to need a little bit more authenticity. It's going to need an out in front of us reach. So we're not going to lay them right next to the crib wall, right? That's not going to work. They're going to run into it, wake up, and then your night's shot. So you got to put them out in front. So honestly, doing a deadlift like this for any parent who is in preparation for parenthood or in parenthood would be quite functional, quite needed, and therefore a deadlift would be on point. What about for that soccer player who needs that explosive strength on that field? Well, I got a landmine here set up, and I'm going to get myself into a deadlift on a single leg because that's how I run, one leg at a time, but I'm also going to want to get forward intent because I run forward. So I'm going to get on the ball of my foot. I'm going to lean into that landmine. So now I'm in that spot where my leg is producing power in its transformational zone. And I'm going to get strong in that spot. And I'm going to drive and drive and drive. And now, ooh, gosh, that feels like I'm ready to go. Is that a deadlift? Was that authentic to how I'm going to drive and propel? In fact, just getting into that spot after doing those few demos, I feel it. Like my body's proprioceptively dialed in, ready to go. What about that person in the 60s? What about that person who wants to live life? Well, I'm sure they're going to want to do a little bit of yard work, and I'm sure they're going to pick up a wheelbarrow, and I'm sure that wheelbarrow is not going to be perfectly balanced left to right. So I got two Vipers. I'm going to do that pickup of that wheelbarrow. This hand's heavier, this hand's lighter. And if any of you picked up a wheelbarrow, done some yard work, that's pretty authentic, pretty real life. What I want to do, switch sides, change hands, keep my deadlifts going. What I like about these examples is that none of them resemble the original deadlift that I did. They all look different, but are still, in the biomechanics, deadlifts. And that's how it depends, functions, in terms of what's functional for an actual traditional deadlift, but it's also how it can be tweaked and modified to fit the clients that are in front of us. What about the traditional bicep curl? Just dialing in, or even more traditional. Isolated single arm bicep curl over a preacher bench. Now, who would that be functional for? Now, definitely the person who's doing a physique competition. Definitely who someone wants that sweet two muscles right there to feel just money, look money, and dialed in. And I'm sure there are some maybe other functional purposes for the isolated traditional bicep curl, but my team and I, we kind of struggle to think of one. Now, maybe you have one. So put in the comments below. And for that matter, if you think of any other cases where other lifts that I mentioned in this video from a traditional sense have direct functionality, please post those in the comments as well. So how are we going to take that bicep curl and tweak it for functionality for our parent, for our mom, for our soccer player, for someone in their 60s? Well, for that parent, again, that sweet little thing, that baby, it's so easy to go after, is going to be on the ground. We're going to want to squat down, grab it, cradle it, make sure it's nice and comfortable, come on up and sync it up. Just hold it. Done that hundreds of times. Let's do that again. It's a curl, but to a transfer hold, holding a curl. Pretty simple, and I like how it got that rotational squat because we're not always going to be dead center with it. We're going to place it down, curl it up, and switch into that arm. And then we're going to go on with our lives. So did a bicep curl, but I involved the rest of the body with it. What about that soccer player? Well, soccer players got to run. They got to run hard. So let's put ourselves in a biomechanical gait-like stance, get our arms ready for it, and guess what we're going to do? Just switch out and boom, 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 boom. We can load our upper body through running patterns, still getting a bicep curl every single time with my Fit Fighter, but again, applying it through functionality as they need to get across that field, which is a big field if you played soccer. It's not no basketball court, that's for certain. What about our 6-year-old? How are we going to make that more functional? Well, I thought of something real simple. They're going to be traveling, they're going to be moving. They got to take up that something on the ground, curl it, put it in that trunk. So let's grab on, curl, place it in the trunk. Come back home. Squat, curl, place, squat, curl, place. Still need that bicep, still need that curl. But like the daily lifer, we don't just use the biceps by themselves. They're integrated into the system of how we use it. So that's how we would tweak for it. I like those concepts. They're simple, but then biceps still need to be trained, but with authenticity in mind. What about the good old-fashioned bench press? How do we make this drill in its traditional form more functional? Well, in this form, it's certainly functional for those physique focused athletes? Well, they want that chest to look good. Honestly, I want my chest to look good too. And if you're a male out there having a good looking chest, well, that's just something to be happy about. But we also need athletes who need more muscle mass, right? Just like the deadlift. And we also need an athlete, honestly, who has that acrobatic job, that Cirque du Soleil kind of person who is dialed in, holding, just maximizing the art of human movement. But also it's quite functional for that car mechanic who's laying on their back, literally putting heavy auto parts into the bottom of a car. That actually happens because not all mechanics operate underneath a lift. So sometimes you get on that rolly, slide underneath there, and work through to make it all happen. So how are we going to tweak that press for the parent, for the soccer player, for someone in their 60s? Well, I like it as a parent myself. Again, I did a lot of stroller pushing, a lot of it. This is a great way to keep our sweet little ones sleeping. So what I like to do is take on a band, press it, but as I press, I continue to walk and come back and walk and come back, and I can even keep that low, walk and come back. And though I'm keeping it isolated, I can also keep it pressed as I continue to walk forward and walk backwards, forward and walk backwards. Because it takes the need of my push and takes the need of my functionality to travel with that push into consideration. Because the chest is not about working in isolation. In fact, it's designed to work with integration. And as I move it to the soccer player, especially, soccer is a huge contact sport. Now, certainly it's not rugby or football, but I need to be physical as I'm managing that ball between my feet with my hands. So if I get here and I'm steady in my base, pushing, as I'm getting defenders from all sides of me, if I can make sure that I have a good, strong base with my foot, even putting a ball under one foot and continue to push so hard, I even knocked, and I got some strength. Even knocking the wall off. That's how we're going to need to function in this game of soccer. What about that 6-year-old? What about that person who's going to be doing some gardening? What I like about is getting prone on a slider and reaching for something, get in that pot plant, get in that soil bag, get in that tool. What am I doing here? I'm getting into a push-up. Each time I'm getting flexion through that elbow joint. Each time I'm pushing to make sure this hand can stay mobile and this hand gets strong. Now you can really emphasize that a lot more and get into it with a big reach and really make sure that they're strong and capable with every single push. But I like how it brings, again, functionality and reality to our push, therefore making our bench press, quote unquote, much more functional for our daily lives. I want to take a second to make a point that barbells, dumbbells are tools. They're limitless in their potential. In some way, a screwdriver has more uses than just screwing in screws. I mean, you can choose your screwdriver to wedge a door closed, wedge a door open, scrape putty off a window, defend yourself from an attacker, or tie it to a bamboo pole and spearfish, and then rent the spear to others and collect 5% of the catch. The same concept goes to fitness equipment. For example, my daughter uses the TRX to place both feet in those straps and swing on it from our TRX mounting point. Is she working out? Yes. Is she playing a sport at a park on the apparatus? Yes, that's working out too. Now I know, I got a little carried away there, but the point is that there are so many tool-specific certifications that teach you how to use a tool, which is great, but they can also limit the true potential. The reality is you can make any tool functional to any person's needs. The only thing holding you back is your own imagination and understanding of the multi-directional human biomechanics that are possible. Last couple things I wanted you to take away from this video is that we are movement coaches and we're always playing the balancing act between giving our athletes what they want and what they need. This goes for the physical and behavioral side of things as well. If I get a new client who really wants to get ready for beach season, then I'm gonna have to give them drills that promote that. However, I'm not gonna ignore the needs that allow him to train in that way sustainably. Simply put, I was taught to never take away someone's teddy bear or anything that makes them comfortable in an uncomfortable situations like working out. A mentor of mine, Gary Gray, made this very simple for me to understand. And as a coach, we are guiding people to change. And change in the physical and mental and soulful sense is very hard. That's what our job is every day, to influence those major aspects of our clients' lives. In this video, I covered a lot of physicality of training, the hard trainer skills you need to know. But as personal trainers, you and I both know that our job extends far beyond just facilitating physical change in our clients. It takes a special sense of awareness, compassion, and adaptability to be able to impact people on a mind and soul level. And this is why we created the multidimensional movement coaching program, a blend of physical sciences with the behavioral sciences. It is essential to know and apply as a coach, because what is your knowledge worth in your head without being able to communicate it in a way that your client can understand it and connect to it, and most important, apply it. So if you want to talk to us more, either with me directly or someone on my team, because you're interested in diving deeper into the functional training, or AKA understanding of biomechanics of movement, the principles of movement, on how to program full body functional workouts, and how to weave both the mind and the spirit into your client's physical changes, then click on the link for the MDMC mentorship below and check out what we have to offer. All right, that's all I have for you. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like it. And if you want to keep watching content like this, check out some of our other cool videos and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thanks for touching in. Talk to you soon. Cheers.